This is the voice of the New York Football Giants, Bob Papa, and you are listening to the best throughout Europe, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast, proudly in association, as always, with Andy's Man Club. Lads, remember, it is okay to talk. This episode, we're currently 50% British, 50% Irish, but we will be 66% British, 33% Irish when Shane, oh, look at that, speak of the devil and he shall appear. Yeah, but as always, 100% Giants. Dan and Aaron are unavailable for this one. But as you can see, I've done some reconciliation work. I've got Kev and Shane back on the same page talking again. So, yeah, very, very much looking forward to speaking about this one as well after watching the noisy neighbours in the Jets and their dross yesterday in person at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But, boys, how you doing? You both good?
Yeah, man, all good. Sorry for being about a minute and a half late. Had technical issues, but what's a minute and a half between friends? Quite a long time, I suppose.
Yeah, good to have you on, mate. Good to be on this evening as well. For a Giants win podcast, I mean, the real therapy session to this evening, boys. We get to talk about a win and what a feeling, eh? The Giants at the end of a game got to kneel. It's like
and not Evan Neal.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it was almost didn't know what that feeling was like, lads. But I'm absolutely glad to be on here tonight talking about it with you.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Like, one of the last things I think I said on the preview pod was it would be so nice to beat the Eagles in a meaningful game. Like, how long has it been since it's a meaningful game? And this was that. This was that exactly. And yeah, we're going to get into it. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of excitement between all of us. Even Shane might, G himself up a little bit for this one. Now, obviously, before we begin, if you're watching on YouTube, X, Facebook, get involved in the comments as people already are. I'm not surprised after a win. Subscribe if you aren't already. Like the video, hit the notification bell, all the lovely, lovely stuff. Make sure all you audio listeners rate us on your podcast platform of choice. Aaron's not here, so I'll do the 5-star. 5 stars. Thank you very, very much. We're just going to get straight into it. So I think the only way to really describe this game is statement victory. And we have not had a statement victory in so long against a good team. It also felt like this was the first time in a while that we finally clicked in all three kind of areas of the team. Special teams, offense and defense all played their part in this one. It wasn't just a dominating performance by one or a close shootout or anything. This was the complete game from the Giants. Their first Thursday night football victory since... I'm not sure why the love hearts are appearing around Shane. Shane is so excited he has love hearts appearing randomly on screen. God, I've completely lost my train of thought there. The first Thursday night victory since September 2015, when we beat the Washington Redskins, as they were then known, who have gone through 2 name changes since we've last won on Thursday Night Football. 17-34 win was a stunner by all accounts. And yes, the Eagles have not been the same this season, but they were 4-0 to start the season. They'd just come off that loss to Denver. They were still atop the NFC East, looking like they were going to go back to doing what they did. Saquon Barkley decided to drop a documentary a few hours before the game that obviously aged like milk as the evening went on. And as you can understand by the excitement in my voice and obviously with the boys as well, a win over Philly is huge. a win over Philly is probably bigger than a win over any other team in the league, let alone the division. And I personally feel like we got something more than just a win out of this one. We saw the hype with Neighbours last year, but it never got the media bandwagon that it deserved. Maybe like OBJ got when he made that catch, the media caught fire and OBJ was the darling. Because Neighbours was obviously up against Brock Bowers and there were a few other rookies that were doing really well last year, he kind of got mixed, into the shuffle there. But, if the rest of the team was hurt, we were mid at best. That's how things go. It hurt the fan base. It hurt the perception of the team. That's all changed. And all you have to do now is look at social media. Dart and Scatterboo with a banner picture of the NFL's official X account. You cannot scroll through Twitter if you're a Giants fan without seeing Jackson Dart launching himself like a lawn dart at players head first to get a first down. Cordell Flott intercepting Jalen Hurts for the first. I don't think Jalen Hurts had thrown an interception this season until then. And then there you go. Flott jumps in front, returns it, 60-something yards. Or the best of the lot, which is Jackson Dart, clearly comfortable in his little media position, sitting on that desk, ordering Cam Scatterboo and Fitzmagic to rip their shirts off, chest bump and woo afterwards. It's everywhere. And I think the problem that I think the thing is that there's a different perception about this Giants team. In 2024, we were lackluster, we were a laughing stock, we were broken, we were boring. But the introduction of the two creatine Caucasians, as they're known, have an unholy mix of like determination, grit, confidence, tomfoolery. Class clowns is what they kind of remind me of. Class clowns who aren't afraid to run into telephone poles. Let's put it that way. They have the Giants exciting on the field, but they also have us likable off of it. And that's a kind of a thing that I don't feel like we've had very often in recent years. We haven't been likable off the field. There's been too many issues in the background that take precedence because what's in the foreground is so poor. So it's really nice just to have a different perception around the Giants and how it goes. Kev, you are going to kick us off with offense. Aaron is not here, obviously, so you have the floor. It is all yours. So run us through a few bits.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about. Like, we have to extend the podcast. Only joking, but I mean, just sort of a couple of players I want to mention. Like, I mean, like Wan'Dale Robinson. He went out there, he had 6 catches, 84 yards for a touchdown. He broke a tackle on the 35-yard touchdown. He wanted to get that ball in the end zone, and to see little Humphrey Jordan blocking down the field for him as well. Do you know what I mean? Like that, he was getting that ball over the line, and like just to see that sort of like grit and determination was fantastic to see. And he made some really crucial third down catches to extend drives when we were in sort of third and long a little bit. He's been so reliable and someone had to step up, especially when Neighbours out for the season and Darius Slayton dealing with his hamstring issue. Someone had to step up to be like the guy, and Wan'Dale really, really did that for me. And like, I just mentioned little Jordan Humphrey there as well. He had 4 catches for 55 yards, a 34-yard grab on that first drive, which was a go up and get it ball. He used the full sort of 6'4" frame to go up and pluck that ball down. It's a fantastic throw. It was just a case of my receiver is bigger than your DB. I'm going to throw to him, and he's going to go up and get the ball. He was physical in the block and run game as well. He's really getting after it. That's what we kind of wanted to see, which makes it even more surprising why he hasn't sort of been elevated from the practice squad before Thursday night's game. And also, like, we've talked about him so much on this pod, but Jalen Hyatt, he had 3 catches for 17 yards, and he drew that pass, a key pass interference leading to the final touchdown. I really was hoping he'd snag that in, but you could see his right hand was being held, and he was essentially trying to catch it with one hand. I would have loved him sort of like be able to hold on to that ball. I mean, we scored a touchdown anyway, of course, but it would have been so good for him to pluck that one in. I mean, it was definitely the most meaningful game of his career, like as in production wise. Also, like Theo Johnson, he had 2 catches for 27 yards. You know, had a really key 22-yard reception. He also had a bit of a costly drop. So, you know, he started, I'm not saying he's plagued by the dropsies, but, you know, he's definitely drops the occasional ball when we sort of need him to pluck these in. And John Michael Schmitz went off injured with a concussion. He was replaced by Schlottmann. And I thought, like, Sushi Marin is not here tonight, actually, because I thought Schlottmann came in and had a very solid game. I thought, you know, he didn't really stand out. You didn't notice him. He was actually moving players forward in the run game, like driving forward. So I was like really, really pleased to see that. But I mean, like, this is by far like the best offensive rhythm of the year. I mean, 5 total touchdowns. I mean, it was a real balanced attack between passing the ball, between running the ball. We used 12 personnel. We used 21 personnel effectively. You know, like 12, like 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and then 2 running backs and 1 tight end. The offensive line, you know, despite having some injuries, like, you know, I thought we controlled the trenches. Like, we were actually like we're dominant in that side of the ball, and we haven't really seen that from an offensive line for such a long time. But see them go out there and just be productive was fantastic. They protected Dart as well. They created lanes for Scadaboo to make those yards as well. Like, you know, Scadaboo's fantastic at like breaking tackles, but it does help if you have a couple of yards, but a hole to go through and a bit of a running lane before you get to those tacklers. You know, there's no turnovers. I mean, you know, we saw how much 5 turnovers kind of killed our momentum and our play the week before. To have none this weekend was fantastic. And like, you know, we controlled the tempo, we controlled time and possession. We had more offensive possessions than the Eagles as well. So like all those type of things just was so good to see. And, you know, rookies, Dart and Scadabo, you know, they're contagious. The teammates absolutely love them. I mean, like, what do you call them? The creatine Caucasians. I mean, I saw one the other day. What was it? Vanilla Vic and Marshall Chuck. I thought it's absolutely classic. Like, but those 2 are really sort of like brought. You mentioned as well, like a funness back to this team. You know, there seems to be a shift in team culture. There's a real confidence and accountability going on with this Giants team. And again, how long is it since we've been able to say stuff like that? You know, the players emphasize, you know, turning this franchise around. There was one in the presser afterwards. Dart said about, you know, he was asked the question about past failures and teams in the past, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was along the lines of, "Well, I wasn't here for those. Those aren't my losses." Though, you know, he's come in now this season and he has a winning mentality, and he's kind of brought that to this team. You know, Coach Dable praised Dart's toughness, his leadership. You know, he said something along the lines of no gold jacket yet, so he's trying to temper the hype around him. But like, you know, the veterans are loving this as well. Like, you know, being able to see production as well as the swag and everything else, but production from these 2 rookies, you know, that gets the veterans going. You know, and like you said, it is a statement win. It's a huge win against them, against the Eagles. Like, no one else. Like, you wouldn't want this type of win, like you said, to all 3 phases of the game to dominate. Like, you want to win against them. It's massive momentum. It's 2 home games now against Chargers, who a lot of people are tipping to potentially win the AFC, and the Eagles. You know, last year's Super Bowl champions, who like you said, started 4-0 and are real strong favorites to go back to the Super Bowl. But you know, there's still inconsistencies. I mean, like, you know, the loss to the Saints. You know, you need to take that loss and not dwell on it too much, but take things away from it. The turnovers can't happen, obviously. And like I said before, you know, we stopped the turnovers this week, and you saw a much different offense. And like the young core, like Dart, Scadaboo, like neighbors going forward, but not in this game. You know, it's just something to really rally behind. You know, there's a fearlessness there. They're not scared of anything. Like, they'll go out there. It doesn't matter if they're New York media or all the spotlights on them. But just to talk about Dart as well, you know, so he did. He's my player of the game, Jackson Dart, quarterback, obviously. 17 of 25 passing, 195 yards and a touchdown pass. He rushed 13 times for 58 yards and 1 touchdown. He accounted for multiple scores in 3 straight games now, led the offense to 11 of 16 on third downs, which is phenomenal. That's a great return on third downs. It was a real big point of emphasis I wanted us to overcome this week. He briefly left the field, for a concussion check. And then we all saw what happened when poor old Russell Wilson came in. The boos rang around, and I don't know how fair that is. But there's an awful pass he had as well. He just threw the ball into the dirt. You can kind of see why we've gone. They will want to go down the Jackson Dart route. But he showed great leadership, toughness. All his teammates just praising him, and Coach Dable as well. Looking at like the Titans, they went for Cam Ward first overall, and we tried to get up there for that pick and stuff like. But if you're asking me to come away with Carter and Dart in the first round this past draft, he's showing that he has the potential to be a true franchise quarterback. I know it's early days, but it's definitely something. He's ticking all the boxes. He's coming on the field, off the field, every box, every hurdle, obstacle he's come across, he's passed with flying colors, and you just absolutely love to see it. And then talk about this second player of the game, which is Aaron's player of the game. It's obviously couldn't be anyone else other than Bam Cam Skattebo. He had 19 carries for 98 yards, at 5.2 yards per carry, which is excellent. He scored 3 touchdowns. He had 2 catches for 12 yards. He is a battering ram. He is just physical. His style broke the will of the Eagles defense. You could see at the end of the game that defense were like, we don't want any part of this. We want to get out of here now. It was just, and to be able to do that to them, to the Eagles, I don't emphasize this point anymore, but against them, yes, please, run it down their throat. Absolutely, just bullied them. We bullied the Eagles with our offensive line and Cam Skattebo and Jackson Dart. Carries, we said before the season, carries would be like 60-40 with Tracy and Skattebo. You might think of flipping that now. He won't get all the carries, but you could see him getting the majority of them. And he kind of shown himself to be running back one now. He energizes the team and the culture. He drew that late taunting penalty, which was very, very soft in my opinion. He basically ran past them and said something along the lines of first down or something. Can't remember what it was, but it was just the refs seemed too eager to throw the penalty on that one. But like I said, just the offense passing, lovely. Jackson Dart shows he can layer passes, he can throw deep balls, and he can manipulate the defense with his eyes. He did that on multiple occasions, which was great to see. And running the ball, this offensive line is starting to click now, and we're moving the ball as we should be, and the efficiency is phenomenal. And like I said, those third downs, 11 to 16 is huge. If we can get that type of production on third downs, we will have long sustained drives. That keeps the defense off the field and healthy and fresh. Hand it over to Shane now to talk about what the defense can do when it is sort of not on the field constantly.
I'm going to cut in here because I want to ask Shane something. Shane never gets involved in the offense anymore, and I know he misses it. So I'm going to ask him what he thought of the tackles. No, I'm not. I'm not that harsh. I'm not that harsh. Shane, the biggest thing that stood out to me when I was watching it from an offensive point of view is when you watch Jackson Dart get pressured and he escapes that pocket and the way that he moves around that pocket. It's the one thing that we've missed for years. And Eli was great at it. And we had the play in the Super Bowl where he escapes the sack. It goes down, obviously, and you have the helmet catch, and that gets replayed over and over. But from what we've seen from Jackson Dart in the 3 games that he's played, his pocket awareness, is that higher than you thought it was coming out of college?
I don't know if I'd say it's higher, because if you watched him at college, he was always a quarterback who likes to get out of the pocket if he can. He was a mobile quarterback coming out because, off topic a little bit, I think that's the way you see the NFL going in general. Now, these quarterbacks that are coming out, they're not amazing pocket passers. Jackson Dart can throw it, but he can't bomb it. And quarterbacks these days are getting drafted based on their awareness and their mobility and their legs to get them out of trouble. And I think you've seen that quite a lot from Jackson Dart throughout this season since he's come in, but definitely you've seen it on Thursday. And I think, on the topic of Jackson Dart, I think you've seen a lot of Jackson Dart that Daniel Jones was missing. Now, Daniel's gone to Indy, he's doing great fair play for him. You know, there was no malice towards Daniel Jones. I think most Giants fans would be like, you know what, go and have a career, kid, and hopefully it works out, because he just wasn't working out here. But I think even if you just look at the way Jackson Dart conducts himself, the little bit of swagger he's got, like, you know, Daniel Jones was very much turn up in chinos, a shirt, tied button, rucksack on the back, like he's ready for his first day at school. Whereas Jackson Dart's got that little bit more of a jock swagger about him that I think Daniel never had, and I think that translates not only on the field but through the rest of the dressing room as well. And I think you're seeing that with the chemistry that him and Cam Scatterboo kind of have. That, you know, it's kind of give this offense a new fresh air, so to speak, something that we've not had. In all honesty, since I've been a fan, you know, this kind of rapport and swagger that these two have between them, I'm not seen since I've been a Giants fan. You know, Daniel and Saquon kind of got on, and you know, they had each other's backs. But I think sometimes you just need that. You need that little bit of something, and I think that's what Jackson Dart has. That something that Daniel Jones never had.
Yeah, sorry,
go on, Kev. No, go on, Kev.
I was just going to touch on that. Like, you know, Jackson Dart, like, one of the things I love about him, talk about his pocket presence. In Ole Miss, he's very much like one read and throw the ball or run. Whereas now you see him going through multiple reads. But one of the things I love as well is like he runs to throw. Whereas Daniel Jones, when it wasn't there, Daniel Jones would just take off and run to try and get the first down. Whereas you see now he will maneuver himself in the pocket and get outside the pocket and runs, but he keeps his eyes downfield and he will look for the pass first before he goes on his runs. And I think and I love the fact that we talk about the swag and stuff like that. Like, it's a fine line, but he definitely the confidence and not cockiness. He doesn't come across unlikable. It's very much like, you know, oh, what a dude! Like, I mean, he's a quarterback I can get behind.
I was just going to say, sorry, Craig, if you listen to the Giant Insider, Biz said in pre-season, like in training camp, you know, Jackson's got confidence that he's here to win this job, but it's not, I'm a first-round pick, I'm automatic lock. And Biz has mentioned it numerous times, even in the one of the latest episodes, where he said, you know, he's got confidence, not cockiness. And like you say, Kev, it's a real fine line, and the kid's absolutely nailing it on the line, to be honest with you.
No play really emphasizes that more than the Scatterboo touchdown where Jackson Dart high fives a referee.
That was fantastic.
That wouldn't have been anybody's bingo card this week.
It's a flag as well, technically, because you're touching an official. But yeah, nothing sums up the immaturity to a level that's controlled, like high-fiving a referee after someone goes in for a touchdown.
It's like mature immaturity.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just that you're right with it's the swagger and just everything about what he's brought to this team has, like I said earlier, it's just changed the perception of how I think we are viewed externally and, you know, even internally. And just before we move on to the defense, I just wanted to say that there was a really nice touch as well at the end of the game in the locker room with Brian Daboll, obviously giving the game ball to John Mara in there. And I don't know how planned that was, but I just think that for Brian Daboll, who is somebody who gets a lot of bad press, shall we say, and somebody where we've been critical of him, and every single member of this podcast has been critical of Brian Daboll over the years for obvious reasons. But when you actually come down to what the crux of a man is, and the man that is Brian Daboll, I thought that was a real nice touch from him. Defense then, Shane. No Dan, riding solo.
Yeah.
Who have you got?
So just on the defense, obviously we've kind of called the defense out numerous times over the last few weeks. The individual players and player calling and Shane Bowen, because at the end of the day, this defense hasn't performed to the level we want it to and we expect it to. And I don't think that's unrealistic as to what our expectations have been when you look at the investment that we've made, that we spoke about over previous weeks. So I'm not going to kind of reiterate it again, but, you know, free agents, draft picks, etc., contract extensions, you know. So I think the criticism we've had in the last few weeks has been maybe a little bit harsh at times, but I think it's been fair and due. And to be honest with you, Thursday night started off. The run defense has been a big problem. It was a problem last year. It was a problem in pre-season. It was a problem in every game this year. And then Saquon Barkley on his first 2 carries goes for 31 yards, and you think, FML, here we go again. Look, we're not going to be able to stop him, are we? But then after that, he had just 27 yards on 10 carries for the rest of the game, and 18 of those was kind of in the first half as well. But I think the defense deserve massive credit. We saw the stop of the rotation at cornerback, which is what we were asking for. We spoke about it, comment if it was last week or the week before, and lo and behold, looks what happens. You don't do that rotation, and one of the cornerbacks makes a play, who we'll speak about in a moment. I think the defense stepped up this week, and like Kev said earlier, when they weren't on the field a lot. So what that meant is they got a breather, they got a chance to get their breath back, get back on the field and hit it again. And, I think credit to Shane Bowen, the rotation he's been doing with the linebackers, with all 3 of Burns, Carter, and even Thibodeau at times, dropping back into linebacker next to Bobby Okereke. It's what's needed. We know linebacker is the biggest issue that we have. But I think there's so many players that kind of aren't players of the game that deserve shout outs. I just want to have a look at the cheat sheets. I know Craig's going to mention one of them, so I want to make sure I don't mention him. I'm just trying to work out. There was someone I was going to mention. Who was I going to mention? It weren't. I don't know who I was going to mention. I was torn between 2 players, and I've gone flopped them on, and there was another one, and my mind's gone completely blank as to who it was. But I think if you look at the defense as a whole, the defensive line played well. I thought the linebackers deserve real credit. Okay, Dallas Goedert had ridiculous amount of catches. I think it was Dallas Goedert. The tight ends kind of burnt us, but in the run game, the linebackers stepped up, the cornerback stepped up, and even the safeties. I think it was one of Tyler Nubin's better games this past week, to be honest with you. So I think in all phases, pass coverage and run defense, the defense kind of played well and helped set up that win and put the offense in a position to do what we hoped they could do. And if you look at the players of the games, so I've gone for Cordell Flott. Can you look anywhere else other than the fact that he got that massive interception? There was can't think what it was, but there was a stat on Jalen Hurts about his interceptions. It's something like I think it's his first one this year, and it's his second one in the last 12 months or something, over 15 games. But that cornerback rotation that we spoke about, didn't do it this week, and lo and behold, Cordell Flott comes up on a massive interception, and he's only stopped from housing it by Saquon Barkley. If you look at him overall, he gave up 2 receptions on 4 targets. That was for a total of 9 yards as well. So Cordell Flott's one of them players who we've kind of really been hoping he's going to step up over the last few years. He's going into his fourth season in the league now, or third. But he's one of them players that we've kind of really wanted to step up, because he's now showing how bad Deonte Banks is. To be honest with you, he's everything we wanted Deonte Banks to be. I'm not saying that Cordell Flott's a lockdown corner, but he battles hard, he plays through injuries, and he's really grown since he got drafted in 2022. I don't know about Kev, I know myself, I thought it was a little bit of a reach at the time in the 3rd round. I thought there was better players on the board, and he's kind of not really been given opportunities through the last couple of seasons. But they said to him this year, it's an open cornerback CB2 position battle between you and Banks, and whether it's for injuries or whatever reasons, but Cordell Flott's really kind of took that himself and locked down that cornerback 2 position now. And I genuinely do think that if he had to miss any time through injury, he would be a bigger miss than what you actually realise when Deonte Banks has got to come in and start playing that CB2 position. In regards to Brian Burns, this is one of the ones I was torn on. I didn't know if Dan was going to take him or not. But I mean, what can you say about Brian Burns through the first 6 weeks of the season? Like, he's playing at like an all-pro level. It is interesting, this past week before the Eagles game, Brian Burns called a player-only meeting. Read about that article on The Athletic the other day, but it wasn't a player-only meeting to kind of bollock everybody. He said it was a player meeting to turn around and say, look, this is what we can do. And it was holding each other accountable and telling each other, you've got this ability. You're not playing to it at the minute. You're not reaching it. And, Tyler Nubin spoke about it and says it meant a lot because, you know, you got players like Burns, Akereke and Dexter Lawrence, who were the three veterans in that players-only meeting. And, you know, like Burns said, he came from a losing program in Carolina. It's not kind of started off, but if you look at the way Burns plays, since he's come here, he's played injured. He leaves it all on the field. I mean, like Brian Burns for me is probably one of my favourite players on defence. I mean, with the way that he plays, you know, he's got 7 sacks. I think it is on the year. I think he's tied going into yesterday. I don't know if the stats have changed, but I think he was tied second for the most sacks in the NFL. This past week against I'm sorry, I got confused reading something then. This past week against Philadelphia, he posted 2 total pressures, but there were 2 sacks, 3 tackles as well. So he's all over the field at the minute, and he's really being that player that we hoped we were trading for. I think, you know, when we traded for him from Carolina, the potential was there, but you kind of wanted to see more from Burns up to that point in his career. And I think this year he's really kind of grown into it. And for me, I think and this is no knock on him, but when Dexter Lawrence is having a bit of a down season compared to what we kind of expect from Dex, Brian Burns has stepped up and more, in my opinion. I think he's leading that defensive group. He's leading that edge group. And, you know, there's no pressure on Dexter Lawrence to have to ball it continuously every week because you've got a player of Brian Burns' caliber doing that. So they was the kind of our 2 players of the games.
The players that I didn't go for that I was really impressed with on defense, and this is a moment where I think I eat humble pie, and maybe a few of the rest of us do the same. But Nacho over the last 2 weeks has been pretty damn impressive. Last week he had 3 pressures. You know, he's only averaging around 20 snaps a game at the moment, which is probably about half of the defensive snaps, if not just under that. And I've got his stats up here while I was kind of looking into. He was the second highest graded player this past game against the Eagles, and had a couple of really, really nice run-stopping blocks, especially against Saquon Barkley. And yeah, the week before he had 2 hurries and a quarterback hit against the Saints, had 4 total tackles, 2 of them being stops on 25 snaps, 22 snaps in this past game. One tackle, 2 assisted tackles, 1 stop. I know that they're not stats that kind of launch themselves off the page, but for somebody who we were calling to be cut to then turn around and deliver what he has done as a rotational player, and I'm quite happy paying him what he's being paid to be a rotational player at the moment. But yeah, I think we're getting a lot out of Nacho. I mean, for my go on.
As you said, the other one, because it just dawned on me who I was going to give a shout out to as well. Thibodeau. I think Thibodeau through the first kind of 6 weeks, he's not doing anything spectacular. You know, 22 pressures, 3 sacks, 5 hits, 14 hurries, but he's really stepped up in a way I didn't kind of expect him to. It could have gone 2 ways, drafting Abdul Carter. He could have completely checked out and gone, nah, fuck this. But I think what he's done, it's like a fire underneath him. And like I say, you know, whilst he's not getting like a sack a game or anything like, say, someone like a Brian Burns he's getting a sack every 2 games, but he's constantly disruptive.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing. He might not be finishing, he might not be getting on, but he's constantly disruptive. And I just think, you know, he's really someone who's kind of stepped into a little bit of a leadership role, to be honest. And I didn't expect it to the point where it's going to be a conversation maybe we'll have in the bye week potentially, because we've got quite a late bye week. But what do you do about Thibodeau in regards to a contract extension or not? We mentioned last week, you know, about finding out what does he want per year, because like he said since day one when he got drafted, he knows he's got to perform on the field, but he's also thinking of his product off the field and his sponsorships and all that is going on. But yeah, sorry, Thibodeau was the one who I wanted to give a shout out, because I think through the first 6 weeks he's surprised me.
Absolutely. I think the improvement in the run defense game, especially certain times when Thibodeau's setting the edge, and I think it might be the training that he did in the offseason with the wrestling, is that he seems to be able to maneuver the tackles and the guards in a better way than he ever could. It's not a case of him looking a little, not that he was ever slight, but you know what I mean? Like, it's rather than him playing skinny, he's playing big now, and he's sort of rotating them. I mean, Kev, do you want to touch on Tibbs a little bit?
Oh yeah, definitely. He has been outstanding. Like his run defense is exceptional. It's been so good this season. And Craig hit the nail on the head. He like when he's on the block, he's coming off those blocks a lot easier, and he's moving those offensive linemen to make big run stuffing tackles. We thought he'd be more of a sort of a true speed pass rusher, get sacks, but he's shown a real all-roundness to his game this season. And you absolutely love to see it. I mean, like, there's a lot more stunting going on. And just to talk about the defense generally quickly, it was a different defense this past Thursday night. It was very different. I mean, this players only meeting, and then they went to Shane Bowen and said, look, we need to dial things up a bit. And fair play, Shane Bowen did that. We saw the one thing I criticized beforehand was didn't rotate coverages. You didn't try and disguise coverages. He did that this week. People were lining up, looked like too deep, and then they went to cover 4, cover 3. They stunted a lot on the defensive line. Players just played a bit more freer as well. It's just like it's so good to see this defense we thought could be good, and the first sort of beginning of the season was too vanilla and too obvious. This past Thursday night, Hurts, we did confuse him. We did. And we were excellent stopping the run as well. I mean, like you said, like Saquon Barkley perfectly, like at the beginning, those first 2 runs, I had my head in my hands. I was like 2 runs for 32 yards or whatever it was. It's like, come on, don't be one of those evenings. And then it wasn't. And then we just stuffed them constantly. And like to hold their, was it AJ Brown to, what did they have, like 11 targets and 9 receptions? 9 targets and 6 receptions. Devontae Smith, 5 targets, 4 receptions. I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, they're going to get the odd big one, and Dallas Goedert is Dallas Goedert, as he's a tight end, so we're going to give up loads of yards and receptions to those. But the defense looked like what we hoped it would look like at the beginning of the season, and everyone's playing their part. And I think not being on the field constantly getting run over and teams having long drives on us, but we benefited from that. And us being able to have long drives benefited the defense. And it was just everyone played their part. And like you said, Nacho as well, like you're 100% right. Again, he stepped up and he's sort of been that plugger in the middle that we haven't had. Everyone thinks it's Dex. And Dex is playing good, not great, which is fine. He's not going to be excellent all the time. He sets such high standards. But yeah, I mean, I'm just watching that defense, at the beginning of the game, I had sort of like that sick feeling in the stomach, like, this could be bad, this game. And they went out there and they absolutely balled out. Great play calling, and then players stepped up to make plays. And you're right to highlight Flood as well. He's no superstar cornerback, but what he has proven is that he is a starting caliber cornerback in this league. And we've been dreaming of those for a good while now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so very excited with the defense, and yeah, it's really good to see.
So just to go through my players of the game, the joys of being the floater means that I get to choose 2. So you can see them at the bottom there if you're watching along. But I've got Wan'Dale Robinson on offense and Dane Belton on defense, which is obviously who Shane alluded to earlier, as someone he wasn't going to mention. We spoke about the lack of receiving options with Neighbours and Slayton out. Little Jordan Humphrey was close. It was between the 2 of them. I think they both played a really good game. Obviously, Humphrey coming off of the practice squad should have been called up for the Saints. I think that pretty much just tells you what we could have had there. But I did give the nod to Wan'Dale. Like you said, he led the team, 6 receptions, 84 yards, touchdown off 7 targets. But like you said, Kev, that touchdown really kind of solidified what we need from Wan'Dale if the other 2 are going to be down. If he's going to be that, quasi veteran on that line, because he's not, is he? He's not that old himself. But if he's going, yeah, if he's going to be that veteran there, yards after catch. How many times have we said, Wan'Dale, we love you. You can't make contested catches, but you can do some of the dirty work in the short game. But my God, can we please just get a little bit of yards after catch? And that's what he did. The missed tackle was hilarious. The guy was just grasping air, and he was gone. And then Belton. But Shane, I think you've said this loads of times. Dane Belton is somebody who doesn't see the field a lot, but just has a knack for making just a big play to keep himself kind of relevant in the game. And he did it. You know, the forced fumble of AJ Dillon, especially just after him and Flott had a miscommunication for the Dallas Goedert long, 30-odd yard catch. To go through, force the fumble of AJ Dillon, which was obviously recovered by Drew Phillips on the night, was great. But also, he had 7 total tackles, which was tied for the second most on the team, but played a third of the snaps of the other 2 safeties. Like, just what he does, what he brings to the team as a rotational player, I really don't think can be sort of overstated. Like, Belton seems to have a knack of turning up as a player of the game, despite not actually being on the field for a lot of it. And it just shows that he's an impact player. He really is. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there was anything. There was something else I was going to say to you, boys, just as a conversational piece, but it's absolutely just escaped me. I suppose we could very briefly touch on the Brian Dable medical staff debacle that happened. Quick, very briefly, Kev.
Yeah, I mean, that was crazy. I mean, like, was it the TV crew before the game was showing the blue tent and sort of going, oh, this is the blue tent, this is what happens, we pull it up, blah blah, the people that come in here is just the player and then the medical team, and no one else is allowed in there, absolutely no one else, no coaches, no players, no one else is allowed in this tent. We have quite strict rules on that, blah blah, because it's all done independently. And then Dable decides to go over and pop his big old beautiful bald head in there and try to like, he said after the game that he was checking on his player, obviously, but he was like having a proper go at the Giants medical officer. And I think it was such a bad look. It's an awful look. But he was basically saying to the medical personnel, like, if he's okay, when can he get on? Because if he's okay, can he come out now? And I'll burn a timeout because I want to get him back on the field. But
it's forced down, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's going to go 4th and short, and he was going to go for it. But it's just such a bad. It kind of came across that he was like belittling the sort of concussion protocols and stuff like that, and making a mockery of it. And I don't think he was doing that at all. It was just a case of like, if he's in the concussion protocol, I'll leave it. But if he's fine, can he come out? Like, when can he come out? But it just, it was, and it led to John Mara having to put out a statement straight after the game, and the Giants could get heavily fined for that incident. I mean, of course, Bam Bam Cam goes over and he tries to get in the tent as well, doesn't he, to see how his little mate's getting on. But it's just it's such a bad, like, it is funny because everything's okay and he's fine and all that, of course, like, so. But it was just the timing of it. We never see the blue tent talked about, discussed like pre-game and stuff like that. We know it's there and stuff like that. And they just happened to do a little feature on it at the beginning of this game. And then we have that. But I don't think there's too much in it. Brian Dable, you're asking a lot of your players on the field for discipline. You've got to kind of show a little bit of discipline yourself when it comes to these type of matters.
He is a hothead, though. There's no debating that. While we're on the topic,
I don't know if it was one of the Giants beat writers or one of the NFL beat writers last night, but I've not watched the game. But that says the NFL need to tread carefully with what they do with the Giants because, okay, yeah, it's out of order what Brian Dable did, he shouldn't have done it. But then apparently did Kelsey get slammed on his head or something last night, and then he stayed on the field for the next play, and everyone's like, well, he clearly should have been pulled out for a concussion protocol. So it's like, well, you can't, and they will because it's the Chiefs, but you can't punish one team but then let another team just be like, yeah, okay, you know what, you leave your players out there. Look, I've not seen what the incident was involving Travis Kelsey, but I'm led to believe from the tweet that he should have.
Yeah, it was almost a direct, like, helmet straight in, like, top of the head, bang into the floor. But
that's not necessarily on the Chiefs, because the Jackson Dart one came from a booth above. It was an NFL official that said he needed to come out of the game. So that same official should have done that for Travis Kelsey last night, to be fair. It's not the Chiefs. It's not up to the Chiefs to sort of,
no, it's
they
can
do it.
Get punished.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the NFL official who's independent pulled Jackson Dart, and they should have done the same last night for Kelsey. I mean, the Chiefs themselves have a duty of care to the player as well, but it is like the NFL official that is at every game in the booth that calls those type of calls.
Shane, you've been too positive on this, so I'm going to get you riled up now. We go 17-13 down in this game. And one thing I just want to kind of say is we could have rolled over at that point going behind to what happened and what we're going to talk about now. But I think it's a credit to this team that we didn't, considering the fucking farce that happened. Tush push bonanza. What the hell? How can they false start as many times as they clearly do on the tush push? How can they run it 4 fucking times in a row and people can still turn around and go, well, yeah, this is football though, isn't it?
I've got to be honest with you, I've not seen many people defend it. I feel like a lot of people watched it Thursday and went, okay, you know what? Once, maybe twice, but to run it 4 fucking times. It's like playing someone on Madden and they go, oh, let's just stop it then. Well, no, fucking stop spamming the same fucking play over and over and over and over again. Don't be a dick, basically. But what's Nick Sirianni? A fucking dick.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the broadcast team at the time kind of said, like, you know, oh, with the slow motion, you're gonna, you know, it looks more exaggerated, them going early. But I don't really agree with that because, like, you're not supposed to go until the ball snapped. So when the ball snapped, then you move. But to quite obviously move, the guards move before the ball is snapped, is a penalty. It shouldn't be allowed. It should be looked at. And they need to start firing these flags in. And it's a disgusting play. If I was an Eagles fan, I'd be embarrassed. Like, looking at that play, it's just filth. It's just dirt. It's just no time for that at all. And to do it, like, was it 3rd down, 4th down, then 1st and goal, and then 2nd and goal for the touchdown. I mean, come on, be imaginative. You know, come up with some like trick plays or something. You know what I mean? Like, that play is just pure dirt, and it needs to be taken out of the game.
I think it will. I think what happened Thursday night will be the catalyst for it being, you know, just excluded from the playbook by the end of the season or at the owners' meeting at the end of the season. We're running quite ahead of time, so I am going to throw in my little fun game here that I decided to cook up because I was looking at trade deadline rumours from Adam Schefter earlier, and I thought he came up with a few interesting ones. So he lists 3 Giants.
This, you know.
Were you?
Yeah. I was going to say we got a bit of tie-in. There's been a lot of talk about the Giants making calls.
So the 3 offense, it is actually offense. The 3 offensive players that Schefter thinks could be on the move. We've spoken about Russell Wilson. We've spoken about Evan Neal, and I think we're kind of all in agreement that both of those make sense. You know, Russell Wilson clearly not supported by the fan base. Clearly not in the right headspace because when he came in, the throw he made was just a nothing throw.
To be fair, I did see some Giants fans on about that who were in attendance, and they were saying the booing was more aimed at the officials in regards to getting Jackson Dart out of the blue tent than it was aimed at Russell Wilson for the throw. And I think it was a misreading into what he expected Jalen Hyatt to actually run and what he did. So I do think it's worth mentioning that I don't know. We won't know for definite, but there has been some chat that the boos weren't aimed at Russell Wilson. It was aimed at clearing Jackson Dart to get back on the field.
So if I say these 2 names, just give me a yes or no for these 2 because we'll talk about the 3rd one in a bit more depth. But Shane?
Yes.
Can I caveat it?
I said yes or no.
But it depends who our third quarterback comes on the practice squad then.
Okay.
Because Jameis Winston will become quarterback 2, but then who's going to be the 3rd quarterback?
I mean,
Mike Glennon.
Do these days.
The thing quickly with Wilson is that, I mean, Jameis Winston should be number 2 anyway, in my opinion. Now,
yeah.
I mean, don't do it because it's a bad look because they made a promise to Russell Wilson and stuff, and they want to, be a good organization. But Jameis Winston, the playbook's very similar for those two players. I mean, the playbook changes quite a bit when Russell Wilson comes in. But for James Winston, like, you can play the same concepts as you do with Jackson Dart, and he's going to be the back you get from a pick swap, 6 and 7 swap or whatever, to move him on. You know, help with the fine cap as well a little bit. But I think it'd be best for all parties if he did sort of make a move.
So yes or no again, Kev? Evan Neal?
Yes, 100%.
Shane? Do I even need to ask?
They're not playing him. They never dress him. So if you're not dressing him, you're not playing him.
That's the only thing. The fact that they're not dressing him. Like, if you're not going to dress him, just put him. What is he offering? What do you do? Is saving face?
Yeah. Right, Shane. Here's one we can talk about. Devin Singletary.
Yeah.
You're okay trading Singletary, call Miller up, I would assume, and then and then go for that way.
Yeah, it's fine, mate. That's the easiest one for it.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, like I said, Bam Bam Cam and Try and Tristy, Double T, they are the 1-2 punch now, and they're very good complementary backs. And I think Devin Singletary, he has his uses. He's a good veteran to come in. Tristy's come back from injury, so to get anything for him, and also like allow him to go and earn reps and snaps elsewhere as well. Like you know, you're doing that for the player as well, not just for the organization.
So he also listed 6 wide receivers as potential options. So I'm going to read out the 6, and Shane, you can go first on this. I want you to rank them on 1 to 6 as to who you would take.
Hold on, I need to take a note. I'm going to remember 6 names.
I tell you what. Let me put it.
You're going to remember all 6 either.
There we go. They're in the private chat. They're in the private chat. It doesn't put them in a nice order, but you've got Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Cooks, who are all Saints, Jacoby Myers, who's at the Raiders, Alan Lazard, who's at the Jets, and Tyler Lockett, who is somewhere that I can't think of right now, but he was with the Seahawks.
Titans,
that's it. Well done.
Can I just have a Olave at 1 and I don't care about the rest? That's
yeah, that's fine. That is fine. Kev, is there, other than Olave, is there anyone there?
I mean, they're all I mean, the price point, draft capital you're going to give up is very different from like Chris Olave and then the rest. I mean, maybe Rashid Shaheed would ask for something as well. But like Cooks, Myers, Lazard, and Lockett, you wouldn't have to give up much to bring them in. Olave's in his final year of his rookie contract. But he is 5th year optioned for next year. So he'd come in this year with 5 million and then 15 million next year. I mean, I think if you can bring him in, the tricky thing is Olave would be my number 1, 100%. I think he's a very high end number 2 wide receiver. So as a franchise, giving Jackson Dart going forward, Neighbors and Olave, who's only 25, is phenomenal work. And then Darius Slayton and Wanda Robinson, if you decide to keep him on. I think that is a formidable wide receiving core. The problem is, what would the Saints want for him? And remember, we don't have a 3rd round this year. So you're not getting him for a 4th, I don't think. Are you willing to give away that 2nd to bring him in? Yes, it might be a win now move as well as looking forward. But to have one for only a 1st round pick in the first 2 days of the draft next year would be a bit of a hard sell for the front office. But Chris Olave is definitely someone who I think could come in and help Dart progress now, but also be an absolute monster of a 1-2 punch for with Neighbors next season and going forward.
The thing is, though, if you did that, you're relying on Trader Joe living up to his name. You'd imagine you trade away the number 2, keep your 1st round pick, trade back, accumulate more picks on day 2, and you've got more swings to take. But I'm going to throw some other names out there that I think could potentially be trade options. Chris Olave was going to be one. So what would you both be willing to give up for Chris Olave? 2nd round pick at the most.
Yeah,
I've heard he could be available for a 3rd, but we don't have one.
Yeah, would you do Olave and a 4th for a 2nd, for example?
I think that that's fair enough. Giving away that 2nd does. it's with the amount of college players that are now coming through the system where you can get them in that second round and you're getting first round talent makes that second round even more valuable now. And that does irk me a little.
I mean, you might look at a case of a fourth this year and a fifth next year or something like that. If you offered them that, they might sort of
But would the Saints
agree.
take that? I think you've got to look at the second round pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Saints fan base will be furious if you trade him for fourth and a fifth. That's a massive trade, in my opinion. So the next player I'm going to mention, Jalen Waddle.
Right.
I'd be quite happy.
These guys are available, by the way. These are just players that I think you could maybe do something with if you wanted to.
Now, if you got rid of Waddle, would you allow Robinson to walk then in free agency? Because they'd be like taking up similar roles, would they?
Yeah.
Waddle is the better player. There's no debating that. And with the way that the Dolphins are playing at the moment, you know, he's what, wide receiver 2, isn't he, at the moment? So I think it's
wide receiver 1, and because Tyreek's injured.
Oh yeah, of course.
Tyreek. So the Dolphins, they might not want to do it because of that reason, or it might be the flip side where they go, you know what, we need to go into rebuild now. Two is looking great. 2 more players I'm going to mention. One player, I swear he's been mentioned every year for the last 2 or 3 years. Jerry Jeudy.
No,
too big a contract, and he's not at the level you'd
I'd
want.
go for Jeudy, to be honest. I think he's someone that you can get for maybe a 4th rating pick. He's tied down for this year and for next year, so you ain't got to worry about a contract extension. And he's kind of a bit of a different receiver to Neighbours. He's a bit more of a bigger body than what Neighbours is. And then the last one, probably my personal favourite one, DJ Moore.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
DJ Moore is one of those receivers where if you get an opportunity, he would improve your offer. He would probably improve 3/4 of the offenses in the league if he was to come in for them. So, yeah, I think that's a no-brainer. But I do think that the price on that would maybe be a little rich.
If you're telling me a day 3 pick for him, then yeah,
I'd give up round 2 pick for him.
Would you?
The way I look at it is, are we going to get a DJ Moore type in round 2? That's what my comparison is.
Yeah.
You know, it's someone that's going to help Dart out now. You know, let's say we keep all our draft picks and we don't trade for a wide receiver. We're not going to get anything until next season. We've got no Malik Neighbours this year. Slayton's out. You know, we need to do something at the wide receiver position, in my opinion. And I just think, you know what, for what you'll get in the draft, keep that number 1. Ideally, I don't know if you take a wide receiver in the first round. There's a couple. I'm kind of a little bit scared about offensive tackles and cornerbacks in round 1 there as well. I have got my eye on who I want in round 1 already.
It's a contract with DJ Moore as well, though. I mean, he's on the books for 25 million this year, and then 28.5, 28.5, 28.5, 24.5. It's a lot of money, like, as well, to take on the books.
One more from Pelissero, Calvin Ridley. Ooh.
Again, it'd probably be a day 3 pick.
Yeah. Bit of a wrong one, though, isn't he?
Oh, what's he done?
I don't know. I just feel like he's the attitude. I feel like
he said he's a wrong, and I thought he's got like criminal records and he's going to be serving prison time soon.
I have absolutely no foundation at all, apart from I just feel like he's a bit of a wrong one. Sorry for the slander in your name there, Ridley. My apologies, my friend.
I'm typing Calvin Ridley police and nothing comes up.
Oh, God. Well, on that bombshell, that is all the time we have for tonight. However, we'll be back on Thursday for the preview of the Broncos game. Obviously, the Denver Broncos, who some of us watched yesterday and weren't too impressed by. Anything to add before we go?
just nice having a podcast where we can talk about a meaningful win for a change. So yeah, looking forward to the preview pod, and kind of as I said in the group chat the other day, the Thursday night's game and kind of waiting until Sunday's kind of come at the wrong time for us. You kind of wanted to play 3 or 4 days later, really. It's kind of like the infamous international break where a team's unbeaten, comes back from international break and then loses 4 on the beats till the next one. So hopefully the break does us more good than it'll do the Broncos good coming back from England.
Yeah, fantastic show. I mean, like, it's a massive, massive win. Like, we can't understate this win for this franchise. It's come at the perfect time against the perfect opponent, and we won it in the perfect way. Complementary football on all 3 phases of the game. Even Jimmy Gillen's kickoffs, like, they were really pushing them back, and they, the field position they were starting with was awful. And that gave our defense a big, big advantage as well. So you can't sort of not mention old Jamie as well. Like, he's having a great season, by the way. Just the complementary football. And that's the blueprint now. We've kind of gone out there and played the perfect game for us that we can. Let's back it up. Let's go out there and back it up against it. And we're playing the best defense, in my opinion, in the league. So that's to be a big thing. We'll talk about that more on Thursday's podcast. But enjoy this win. Like, I'm kind of glad the extra couple of days. I'm walking around with my shoulders like it's there, walking around and no one has a clue why. But we got to beat the Dirty Birds, and we bullied them. Love it.
And let's hope that this is the end of any Eagles Super Bowl aspirations and talk for the rest of the year, because I don't want to go to San Francisco and have to deal with that crap.
One more worth mentioning. Next time we play Eagles.
What a shout there. Shane from the top rope on that one. But yes, he is right. The next time we play the Eagles is Belushi's London Bridge, the meet-up on Sunday, October 26th from 4 p.m. until late. Obviously, the clocks go back, so we kick off at 5 p.m. that day. Please do come down. Wins like today will help reinvigorate everyone to come down for that, enjoy a few beers, have a chat with us, and watch the Giants. God, Shane, what a way to end that. Just beautiful, beautiful. As always, remember to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the bell at the bottom to be notified of when we do go live. If you aren't already, follow us on the on the socials at the bottom of this, and please do rate us on your podcast platform of choice. 5 stars. Thank you very, very much. My thanks, as ever, goes to Kev and to Shane for joining me, for everyone getting involved in the comments, and for those listening. We appreciate you all. We're signing off until next time. Let's go Giants.